Something was off the moment she said, "I found us an appraiser." Not our appraiser, us. Her word, not mine. We were standing in the living room that had 12 years of our footprints buried in the carpet. The light came in from the big window, same as always, and still everything felt tilted. Divorce does that. Even the floor learns a new angle. "It's just for the valuation," she said. Calm. Like this was a dentist appointment. "He can come Friday." "Who is he?" I asked. "A friend," she said. "From a while back." She was careful with her eyes. They slid past mine and landed on the fireplace like it had started talking. "You trust him?" I said. She shrugged. "He's certified." "By who?" "By the board," she said, like that settled it. "Relax. Relax." That word used to mean something else. Now it meant, let me steer. Friday came with a gray sky and a man in a crisp shirt who smelled like cologne and printer toner. He shook my hand like he'd done it 1,000 times to people he didn't plan to see again. "I'll be quick," he said. He wasn't quick. He was efficient. There's a difference. Quick is messy. Efficient is quiet. Tape measure. Photos. Questions that didn't sound like questions. Roof age? 9 years? HVAC? 7. Water heater? 2. He nodded at each like they were small crimes I was confessing to. He didn't look at the porch we rebuilt after the storm. Didn't notice the insulation I crawled through to lay by hand. He did pause at the kitchen and said, "Original?" Like the word had a disease. When he left, he smiled at her and said they'd be in touch. He didn't look at me. We got the report the next week. Email, PDF. 14 pages of numbers and words that tried to sound objective. The number at the top took the air out of my chest. I read it twice, then a third time. Then I printed it because screens lie and paper tells the truth you can hold. It was low. Not just cautious, not just conservative. Low like someone had tied a stone to it and pushed. "Market shifted," she said from across the table, watching me read. "Rates, inventory, you know." I stared at the comps. 2 blocks over, I said, pointing. Similar lot, smaller square footage, older roof, higher than ours. She pinned her lips tight. "Different street." "Half a mile," I said. "Different school line," she said. I kept reading. The report leaned hard on a sale from 8 months ago, the bad month, the one where everything froze and only panic moved. Then it ignored 2 from last month that made sense. It found a way to be wrong, and it chose it. "That's the number," she said. Soft. Practiced. "If I buy you out, I can afford it at this price. It's fair." Fair. Another word that learned a new meaning. "You want to buy the house," I said. Not a question. She nodded. "I want it. I want to stay." She looked at the wall where we used to keep the height marks for birthdays. I'd painted over them after the lawyer said clean lines sell better. I still saw them. "I thought we were listing," I said. "Why list?" she said. "Pay fees? Show the house to strangers? We can do this quick. We keep lawyers out of it. We sign, and we're done." We. Again that word. "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "Say yes." I looked at the number again. It made my teeth ache. "You could say you'll get another appraisal," I said. She shook her head. "That'll take weeks, and it might be lower. The market—" "Stop," I said. "We both live in this city. Don't sell me the news." Her jaw tightened. "You're being difficult." "I'm being awake." She exhaled slow. "You always make things hard when they could be simple." "I make them honest," I said. She swallowed and looked down at her hands. Her nails were new. Neutral polish. No chips. The kind of detail you notice when you don't want to look at the big thing. "I'm not trying to hurt you," she said. "I know," I said. "You're trying to get what you want." She let the silence sit between us like a third person. "Will you sign?" "Not yet," I didn't say. Let me think. I didn't say. I heard myself say, "Send me the documents." The settlement officer came to our kitchen with a folder thick enough to stop a bullet. No logos, no brands, just forms with boxes and lines where lives go to become lines. "He'll notarize," she said, as if the stamp made it holy. We went page by page. Transfer of interest, settlement statement, release, lien check, affidavit, each thing more permanent than the last. I read every paragraph. I asked the easy questions so I could get to the real ones without sounding like a man on fire. When I got to the bottom line, I paused. The number stared back with the same flat eyes as before. She said my name like a warning. The officer slid the pen toward me. I signed. The pen felt heavier than it should. After he left, she stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame, the way she does when she thinks she's about to break and doesn't want to. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" I said. "For making this not ugly." I nodded. "We're not done," I said. She tilted her head. "We are, actually." "No," I said. "We're not." She held my eyes for a full second, then left the room like the conversation was a door she could close. I sat at the table and stared at the folder. My signature looked clean. It didn't feel clean. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there and watched the ceiling fan pretend to move the heat. I heard every pipe cough. I heard the house try to be neutral. Houses aren't neutral. They take sides. They hold echoes. At 3 a.m., I made coffee and opened the report again. Numbers don't change at night. Your head does. I read the entire thing, footnotes and all. Then I read the part most people skip, the certifications. That's where the appraiser puts his name under the promise that he's independent, unbiased, and used appropriate comparable sales. I circled independent. Then I opened my laptop. No brands, no big databases, just public records, the kind you find if you know how to spell and don't blink. I searched recent sales in a 3/4 mile radius. I filtered for lot size within 10%, year built within 5, roof age if listed. I made a list. It wasn't long. Good comps never are. You don't need 10. You need 3 true ones. 2 of them the report had used. Fine. 2 it had ignored. Not fine. Those 2 were recent, clean, uncoached. They sat like quiet truth right there on the page if anyone wanted them. On a hunch, I widened the radius 1 more block to the west, across the line where people pretend the neighborhood changes. It doesn't. The people do. There it was. A sale from last month on a house, 2 doors from our friend's place. Bigger yard, worse kitchen, new roof, 3% up from the number in the report. Not a fortune, but a direction. Then I looked up the appraiser's name in the state roster. License active. No formal complaints. Fine. I searched his name with the word valuation and our city. 1 hit caught my eye. An old article from a local real estate blog, nothing official, where he'd been quoted talking about stabilizing prices. He used the same phrases that showed up in our report. People reuse language the way they reuse habits. Then I searched him with her. Not her full name, just the last name. It brought up a fundraiser photo from years ago. There she was. There he was. Same table, same caption. I saved it and told myself I was being paranoid. I pulled up the property register and searched by his name. No sale. Of course not. Appraisers don't show up there. Then I searched by the title company listed on our settlement statement. I found a cluster of transactions with his name in the appraisal reference. Most were ordinary. One made me sit up. A report done for a house 4 streets over, 1 month before ours. The sale closed at a number 25% higher than our valuation. The report writer, same signature, same template. The comps, 2 of the ones he'd ignored for us. I printed it. I laid both reports side by side on the kitchen table and marked the overlaps with a yellow highlighter and the differences with red. The yellow lit up like a runway. The red looked like blood. My phone buzzed. A text from her. Can we keep it civil? No punctuation. That tone. I took a photo of the two reports together and almost sent it. I didn't. I'm not in the business of warning people they should be careful. Instead, I pulled the tax assessment history for our parcel. The city thought our house was worth closer to the higher number. Assessments aren't market, but they aren't fiction either. I saved it. Then I looked at the house 2 doors from her friend's old boss. Sold last month. Appraised. By whom? I found the reference number. Same office. Not the same guy. The number matched the market. There's always someone in the office who still believes the rules. I made 3 folders on my desktop. Report us. Report other. Public record. I put the PDF of the fundraiser photo in a folder called Noise. I might need it to remember what this is. Morning light came in and made the paper look kinder than it was. I brewed a second pot and woke up my printer again. It whined like a small old dog and then did its job. At 9, I called a friend who used to work in lending. Say I have an appraisal I think smells, I said. Not a little, a lot. He said, Does it hurt you? Yes. Then you want 2 paths, he said. A review and a complaint. Review goes to the lender or the settlement office, whoever hired the appraiser. Complaint goes to the state board. And if you're really feeling righteous, you send a packet to the tax office if undervaluation hits their world, and to the property records if you think there's a pattern. Patterns? I asked. People use the same tricks, he said. They pick older comps. They stretch boundaries. They discount upgrades. They always have a reason. The reason is the result. How loud do I have to be? I asked. As quiet as you can, he said. Let the paper do the yelling. I spent the next 2 days building the review packet. I wrote a cover letter that a bored person would read and understand. No adjectives. Just, here are the comps within 0.75 miles. Here are their dates. Here's why they're more appropriate than the ones used. Here's a second report by the same appraiser showing a different methodology last month. Please conduct a desk review and a field review if needed. Copy. File. Copy. Me. For the complaint to the board, I took the adjectives out and put the phrases from the certification in. Independence. Unbiased. Appropriate comps. I underlined each and wrote, Evidence suggests variance. Attached. Exhibits A through F. I numbered the exhibits the way clerks like. I left the fundraiser photo out. I'm not a gossip. I want process. For the tax office, I sent the assessment history and noted the gap. I didn't accuse. I asked for a reconciliation of the assessed value with the appraised value for transfer. That wakes people. Assessments mean money. Money gets attention. I sent the review packet to the settlement officer with a polite note. Please hold distribution pending review. He replied with something that sounded like a shrug. Funds disbursed per signed settlement. Of course they were. I knew they would be. I didn't need them to hold. I needed them to worry. She called that night. What are you doing? Reading, I said. You signed, she said. I did. So we're done, she said. No, I said. We're right. She made a sound that used to mean frustration and now meant I'm nervous. You're always like this. You can't just let things be. Things don't be on their own, I said. Someone writes them. You think you're the hero, she said. No, I said. I think I'm the guy who knows where the records office is. She hung up. 3 weeks passed. Long, ordinary days. Work. Coffee. The empty outline on the wall where the frame used to hang. The quiet that took up space where our arguments used to live. I didn't chase updates. I let the packets travel through the building like small animals learning new hallways. Then the first letter came. Not email. Mail. Official paper with a seal impression you can feel with your thumb. From the board, we have opened an inquiry. They wanted my originals, my copies, my photos. They wanted the names of anyone who might have influenced the assignment. I wrote unknown, where they wanted names because I won't write what I can't prove. I sent everything I had. I kept a copy of everything I sent. That's a rule now. A week later, the review came back from the settlement office. Technical language. The kind that slides off most people. It said, in plain terms, if you read plain, that the appraiser's selection of comps was not well supported, and that an updated value was indicated significantly higher than stated. They attached a new number. It was the number I knew in my bones. I read it 3 times, then set it down. The paper didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like weight moved. She texted 2 hours later. What did you do? I didn't answer. She called. They reached out to me, she said. No hello. They said there's a discrepancy. There is, I said. This isn't fair, she said. It's math, I said. They'll make me refinance, she said. They'll make me bring money. They'll make it right, I said. She exhaled into the speaker until the silence felt wet. You just want to punish me. No, I said. I want to not be punished for trusting paper. Another week. Another envelope. This one from the tax office. Thick. The letter said they had reviewed the transfer documents and found undervaluation relative to assessed baseline and market. They were initiating an adjustment and considering penalty assessment for inaccurate reporting. They requested the appraiser's work file. They copied the appraiser and the settlement office. They copied me. It wasn't jail. It wasn't a headline. It was the kind of letter that makes phones ring and people stop using first names when they talk. 2 days later, a reconciliation offer landed in my inbox from the settlement office. The tone changed. It said, to resolve the discrepancy, we propose an additional payment representing the difference between the original figure and the reviewed value, less fees. Upon your acceptance, we will issue funds within 10 business days. There was a number at the bottom. It matched what I'd calculated at 3 a.m., alone with the fan. I read it. I poured coffee. I read it again. Then I wrote back, accepted. No exclamation point, no speech, just the word. She called that night. No fire now, just tired. They're making me pay, she said. They're not making you, I said. They're correcting it. You could say no, she said. I could, I said. But I won't. She was quiet for a long time. I could hear her breathe. The sound reminded me of nights we used to be on the same side of things. I didn't want to fight you, she said. You didn't, I said. You tried to price me out. I wanted the house, she said. So did I said. But not like that. The funds came within 8 days. Wire. Cold numbers warmed by a small message in the memo line. Adjustment, valuation review. I printed the confirmation and put it in a folder labeled with the month and nothing else. 2 weeks later, a final letter from the board. The appraiser had received a reprimand, an education requirement. No suspension, no public spectacle. Enough to matter. Enough that his name would carry a quiet shadow in the places where names are passed around. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell friends. I didn't circle the fundraiser photo and send it to anyone. I kept it in the noise folder and left it there to starve. On a Saturday morning, I drove past the house, not to spy, just to see the tree we planted that first spring. It had grown. The porch still leaned the way it always had when the wind came from the east. She was out front watering the mint. She looked up, saw my truck, and lifted her hand halfway. I did the same. We didn't wave. We didn't need to. At a red light, I opened the glove box and touched the folder with the wire confirmation. It felt the way a finished job feels. Not joy. Not revenge. Relief. The kind that doesn't make noise. That night, I made dinner and ate it at the table that used to seat 2. I kept the chair across from me empty on purpose, not as a shrine, as a fact. The house sounded right again. The fridge hummed. The clock ticked. The fan moved warm air like it had a purpose. People think justice is loud. It isn't. Not the real kind. The real kind is a letter with the right seal. A review that uses the word indicated. A number that changes and then stays changed. Later I took the printed report with the yellow and red marks and slid it into a box under the bed. I labeled the box with the year and a word, only I would understand, kept. Before I turned off the light, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just a line. You didn't have to go that far. No name. I didn't need one. I typed, I didn't go far. I went exact. Then I deleted it. Then I put the phone face down and slept. In the morning the world was ordinary. Sun on the counter. Coffee that tasted like coffee. A house that remembered me without asking me to forget myself. I sat there and let the quiet be the ending. No cheers. No fights. Just balance.